about education. Just to give you a little background, is this working all right?
Gotta get closer.
Gotta get closer.
Go kind of closer.
Closer.
Yeah, great, yeah.
So you can take it out and hold it. Yeah, there you
Like
go.
that. Okay. My father was a vertebrate paleontologist at the American Museum of Natural History. And back in 1969, he was sent to Antarctica to look for fossils. And they found some fossils, and he identified one as being a little critter, a whisper saurus. And that, back in the Triassic, dwelt in Antarctica. Well, this was a little strange, because of course Antarctica is a long way from everywhere else this animal was found. And so this was the final proof for plate tectonics, which said that once all the world was joined in one large continent and then broke apart. And because this animal couldn't swim, he must have got from South Africa and India to Antarctica somehow. And so therefore, the theory of plate tectonics was proven to be actually accurate in fact, not in theory. And so I sort of, as a child, had a, well, I was growing up by then, but I had a front row seat on a major change in the scientific paradigm. This is not small stuff. And so therefore, I'm a product of education. It was assumed that I'd go to college. I started flunking out. That was the first thing I did. But after going to college, I then went to 2 other colleges, ending up here in Seattle at UW. And sort of thinking, well, this journey is a little like what Lizzie Ordway did. She was one of the Mercer Girls, had a good education in the Boston area. I think she was from Lawrence.
Lowell.
Lowell. Lawrence is in Kansas. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Lowell. Yeah, they're right there. And so she was the one who remained unmarried, and so she stayed as a teacher for many years. Once Asa Mercer brought her over here to the West, and she eventually would teach in school after school. I think she just founded these various schools so other teachers could come in too, and ended up in Kitsap County as superintendent of schools. You know, a woman at that, in the 1880s. She was petite, but I don't think she was squashed down like that. But there was stuff in her. She took chances, and it's sort of like the story of our museum. Once you get started, let's get a few details here. One thing was she, after going to some of the Lumbertown schools in the Sound, she came back to Seattle to start a school year in a brand new building. Actually had 2 rooms. And she rang the bell, and the students all came, and there was over 100 of them. And she said, now what am I going to do with all these kids? Well, of course, she started by saying, okay, you little guys, go back home and ripen up a little bit. But I think anyway, she somehow coped. I think she had another teacher to help in the other school. Because in those days, a schoolroom would have all the classes, including high school. You'd have not kindergarten, but first grade to high school in one class. And yeah, I don't know how they taught that, anything in that environment. But she obviously learned, she got a reputation as a great disciplinarian, which so was a little overstuffed too. Okay, we move on from Lizzie to where the city of Seattle was building more schools, and after the turn of the century, after 1900, they started building 4-room schools. We have one at University Heights, and I don't know, the one at Latona is probably about the same. They were built in that era, and they were still sort of general education. Well, the city kept growing, didn't it? I haven't got my notes, let's see what's happening here. After the 20s, in the 20s, of course, were the roaring 20s, and the population in the schools grew quite a bit. So they began building vocational schools and a residential school, by the way, for delinquent children. Those are kids that are running around the streets, the urchins, and things like that. And finally, of course, the rest is history. I'll cut it short here. We've come a long way, and today the schools do have many things like there's Head Start. I think there's still Head Start. And there's special education, vocational education, and diversity in the schools, so that they're bilingual schools, for instance. Great idea, but you got these kids that learn 2 or 3 languages like nothing whatsoever. Why do we wait till high school to try to teach them? Anyway, we've come a long way, and
I just want to add that we just checked it out a little bit. We went through AI and so on. For education, the United States, with all of its technology, we are 30th. 30th. I mean, like, out of the top 100, right, we're at 30th. And so, and then I went back and I thought, okay, but AI, what about Seattle education? So I wanted to pull out how, and it says Seattle is on the leading edge, is very well educated and has a reputation for being really very advanced in their education. My family, Peter's family, the Vanessas are all Lakeside graduates, you know, and Harvard, MBAs, and so on. So education is, I think that Seattle has a really a head start ahead of many other states in the United States. And so as a Unity Museum with education, I feel that we really should be so proud. And it's all due to the Mercer Girls. It's all due how it began, you know, 1850s, 60s. We're talking Civil War era, right? Mm-hmm. So with that, Amy, thank you for making that presentation. And somewhere on your tables on the floor is her talk. And she's got all the stats